Just on
Sure.
Just on that. So that's referring to Jews and Jews, right?
Sure
Are you
thing.
familiar with the story?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
So if we are being men of science and we are trusting what we can observe beyond what is revealed,
Can you tell me why? Can you tell me why that doesn't refer to the Mongols?
because they're meant to be behind that wall
Yeah, which is the Great
until
Wall of China?
no,
No, why not?
Okay, all right, my friend. You know what I love about you? Let's read the scripture. Let's read it. So, ladies and gentlemen, my friend here is a man of science, but also.
First, before
Yep.
we go there,
Okay.
do you want to acknowledge that you made a heretical statement last time we talked?
Okay.
Because you did promise that.
Sure
You did
thing.
promise that.
Sure thing. Okay.
Last time we talked, you mentioned Jesus did not have a human soul.
Yep.
Are you willing on camera
Absolutely.
to admit the fact that Jesus does have a human soul?
Absolutely.
And what you stated was heretical and against the church.
Not quite. Now, so last time we spoke on Revelations, my friend over here asked me, did Jesus Christ have a human soul? I said no, because my takeaway was that the soul is personhood. And therefore, if you say that Christ had a human soul, that would imply that within the person of Christ, you had the divine essence, which was his personhood as the Son, but also a human soul, which was at a secondary personhood to God. It turns out, after reading upon this, that we can say that the soul or spirit is part of the human essence. So in order to be fully human, and as part of human nature, we can say comfortably that Christ had a human soul as part of him taking on a human essence, but he's still just one person.
Okay, so this, I think this is a very key issue, right?
Okay.
This is very important. So we can go to the truth be true topic in a bit. I'm happy to discuss that.
Okay.
But let's just go on this first. So
Sure
you have a
thing.
human soul. You
Sure
said
thing.
to me just before now that my definition of a human soul is inaccurate.
Yes?
So what's inaccurate about a soul being created and eternally existing?
Because
That's the definition of a human soul. According to the Bible, biblical tradition, according to the Islamic tradition.
Because if it's created, it can eternally exist. That's all.
Okay, but Jesus' soul, according to the Bible, was created at a point of time.
Yeah. So the entire human nature, of which the soul is a part of, was created during the incarnation. Absolutely.
Whereas last time you were arguing that it's the divine soul that's eternally existed, which was wrong, right?
No. That is true. That is true. But it does not mean that Christ is then two persons. That's all.
Okay, but like what you said last time was completely wrong.
It's not. The divine essence of Christ is eternal.
We're not talking about the divine essence here, we're talking about the soul aspect. And the soul aspect was taken on when he was created.
The soul, as part of human nature, yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But you weren't saying that last time.
I wasn't, I said that. I said that.
So you clarified that was wrong.
Yes.
Okay.
Did you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so.
And just on this soul.
Yep.
So he has a human soul.
Yes, he does.
What happens to that soul after?
So the human soul is now permanently joined to his human nature, which is now part of Christ. So Christ now has eternally a human nature with a human soul, as well as the divine nature.
So isn't there something being added onto his nature?
So it's not, no. So if it was being added onto his nature, that would mean that the human nature was now a part of the divine nature. But instead, what you have is the human nature existing and the divine nature existing in the person of Christ. So there are no additions made onto his
This
nature.
soul didn't exist before.
Yes, but his nature, the divine nature, is still the same. That hasn't
But the
changed.
human nature, like now God is taking on the form of human nature.
Yes,
that's
but the
a new
divine
nature
hasn't
to
changed.
God.
Yeah, absolutely. So
God doesn't change according to the Bible.
yes, he does not change, and what we mean by this is in essence, in substance, God does not change.
Where does it say that in that phrase in the Bible?
We don't use that phrase in the Bible. This is like later how we understand it using language,
Yeah, but
right?
where's the evidence that for what you're saying?
When it says God does not change, what does that mean? Because if sorry? Okay, so when we have God does not change, we can interpret this as God doesn't change clothes or change his hair color. But actually, when we read the entire Bible, we understand that if God is the Ancient of Days, if God can see the beginning from the end, and if God does not change, then this is talking about some kind of immutable aspect of his substance. Using reason.
Okay. I just want to touch where you're going to now.
I'm going to a lovely verse.
Just before that, I want to clarify.
That's fine.
One more thing for the
We ain't running away.
Okay, so just on, I'm not running away. I'm happy
No,
to
no,
have
I
this
said we're not.
conversation. So just on, last time you said, how can Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala love before creation, right?
Sure.
Yeah? And I asked you what the definition of love
was,
and you used Hebrews. And part of the definition of
Hebrews. It was 1 Corinthians 13, verse 4.
Sure. But in part of that definition,
yes,
love is sacrificial.
Yes.
Yeah? So where is the sacrificial element of love before creation according to the Christian God? So where is the sacrifice before creation?
Right. I talked to him about this actually, funny enough, a little while ago.
Sure.
So I think like 1 John, I think it's verse 4, tells us, right, that if we do not love, we don't have God, because God is love, right? Now, what that tells us is that intrinsically, love comes from God. So all of the attributions that you have to love being patient, love being kind, love not being boastful, only exist because the loving aspect itself emanates from God directly. So God doesn't have to showcase being kind and patient and sacrificial in eternity past. All of these things already exist within love, and this is how we experience it as human beings.
But these are different manners of love. So
yes.
If I love you by performing a sacrifice to save you, that's a different manner of love to me loving you by giving you something, right?
Yes. So
last time you were mentioning that it's the same manner of love, sacrifice, all of this.
Yeah. So in that
But you just
love,
said now that they're not the same.
So love itself, and all the aspects of it come from God.
No, but we're talking about
God does not have to have displayed them all before creation. Because God is love, we have love. And we have maybe more numerous ways of showcasing love than God had before creation. Because for example, we can say that Christ has more experiential knowledge of what it is to be a human being than God the Father does. And so
he's greater than God the Father in that aspect.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that it's greater. Just experiential knowledge and intrinsic knowledge are two different things. So just because Christ knows what it's like to be a human being does not mean that he's in any way greater than God the Father. It's just a different experience.
But are you telling me that the element of sacrifice that exists after creation is not in addition to God's love?
No, it's a manifestation of God's love. That's all. So, like, God's love is the core, and from the core we have all the like dispersions.
So why do you have an issue with the Islamic point of view?
Sorry?
Why did you have an issue with the Islamic point of view?
Because Allah couldn't have been love before creation because he didn't have anything to love, but God the Father did.
No, but like that. Okay, so but I'm saying that sacrifice is a new element of love that's being added to the Christian concept of God.
It's not an element of love. It's an expression.
No.
That's all.
Okay, we're happy to disagree.
No, wait. Patience and kindness aren't elements of love, they're expressions of love.
It's there in the beginning.
Yeah.
Like if mankind was made in the image of God, which is a fundamental Jewish and Christian theology, in the story of Adam and Eve, Adam actually sleeps. He goes to this sleep.
Oh, hey.
You guys had this amazing conversation about Isaiah 42 recently.
Oh yeah, we did, yeah.
I believe I wasn't part of it.
We can bring you in again if you want. You've got some stuff in your hair.
I think we had a few stuff in our hair as well.
Cool.
Yes,
Cool. Right.
If it starts again, just
Sure.
Okay, I was saying that Adam goes to sleep in order for Eve to be made out of his side, and then this sleep is emanated in Jesus sleeps on the cross, and we say the church is made out of his side. And this is, if we can say, from a Jewish and Christian perspective, that the Adam and Eve is an image, a magnification of the inner life of God, then we can see that the sacrifice element is even there in the Adam story, Adam and Eve. And so we know that this is a magnification of something in the life of God.
I'm happy to
Okay,
have
sure.
Adam and Eve.
Sure.
I'm happy to have it there, but before Adam and Eve were even created, where is that element being displayed?
Well,
It's not.
what I'm trying to say is
It's not.
It's not, yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is that before Adam and Eve are created as a magnifying glass of the divine life. And so in that story, what we find is that if there is sacrifice there, I know you're saying, well, if there's sacrifice there, where is the sacrifice in God? I'm not trying to say there it is in God. I'm trying to say that the image was created with the icon was created with it, sacrifice entailed. And I'm trying to say, if it's in the icon, in the Jewish and Christian idea, if it's in the image image of God, the very image of God, the very magnification of God, then we know it's in God.
Yeah.
Now, we can't say, you're saying, where is it in God's life? And I'm just saying it's there.
According to your argument, Mercy, why can't Muslims use the same argument?
There's a reason behind that. There's a reason behind that. So, where this differs in Islam is that depending on which madhab or theology you follow, Allah either has these qualities intrinsic to him or they are created. Okay, but then when I show you a hadith that says that it was made, what would you do then?
We have to understand it in the light of that position.
Okay, can I ask you, do you know your Aqidah? Like, do you know if you're a Sunni, if you're an Athari?
But I'd have to tell you.
Huh?
I'd have to tell you.
Just so I can know what to quote to you?
Yeah, but you can quote and then we can go from there.
So I can quote anything to you?
No. I'm saying that our position, my position,
Yep.
is that those attributes are eternally existing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Are you Ismaili or something? Or? Oh, okay. Well then, that's fine.
We can have this conversation next week.
All right, that's fine. But essentially, saying that attributes exist eternally with Allah is more of like a bit of a interesting position that isn't like a classical Sunni. But can you tell me which school does it?
Sure.
Can I know?
But I'm not going to say.
Okay, all right, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. But from my understanding, it's not Sunni. Okay. That's fine. But effectively, when it comes to Allah, if my friend here does agree that Allah has intrinsic attributes, then that's fine. However, he will then have to explain to me why Allah's attributes are only limited to 99.
That's not the case. And we can talk about that next week. That's another.
So why does he only have 99 names?
He doesn't only have 99 names.
Okay.
Those are just 99 names that have been recorded. And nowhere is it categorically said those are the only 99 names he has.
Right.
He has other names outside of those 99 names.
But those who believe in those names outside the 99 tend to be Sufi mystics. Sunnis don't affirm this.
Evidentialize what you're saying.
Sure. So Sunnis don't affirm anywhere that they know additional names of Allah beyond 99. Can you pull that for me? Because from my understanding, this is something that Sufi mystics do. They talk about secret names of Allah. And I don't see what Mahab is, by the way. You might be like the first like Maliki or something I've spoken to. But anyway, just to clarify, the problem with traditional Sunni belief is that the attributes of Allah are not eternally there. They are created at a point in time in order to allow Allah to interact with humanity.
You guys use Islam Q&A all the time, right?
Okay.
So are there only 99 names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Or
Okay.
Scholars agree.
Yes.
Scholars agree.
Yes.
That the beautiful names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are not limited to 99 names.
Okay. Do we know any others in Sunni Islam beyond the 99?
The best of names. So
do we know any more?
All of the best of names.
Do we know any more of them beyond 99? Example?
Yeah, sure.
Example.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm not gonna, but I'm literally giving you proof of what you just said.
No.
Yeah,
yes, I am aware. I am aware
are you
that
on
some.
camera going to say that you are wrong in that statement?
No, because
They just showed you. The scholars do
again,
agree. In Ahl
like I
Sunnah
said
wal Jama'ah,
previously.
the scholars do agree that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not limited to 99 names.
Like I said previously, the only ones I know who affirm
it's not about what
more
you
than
know, it's about
99 names
Islamic
and actually
scholarship.
try to find out what these names are Sufi mystics.
I just showed you Islam Q&A, which is not
So
a Sufi website.
let me
it's a
see.
Salafi website.
Okay.
So there.
So,
What more do you need?
very simply, I want to see the list of the additional names beyond 99. That's all.
It's not a list. There's just 99 names are a list, but it's not limited to that list.
So we don't know what they are.
What it is, 99 names are mentioned, but there are more.
But do we know what the more are? Because in my experience,
Okay, let me explain like this.
It can be a beautiful name.
Yeah, it can be a beautiful name.
but we don't know what they are.
No, we do.
Whatever.
Okay, wait, hang on. If I say a name, a beautiful name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is not in the 99 names, right? Then that is the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Okay.
And these 99 names.
What classifies a beautiful name? If you said the most handsome.
A name in line with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's majesty.
Okay. Now, there's a problem there. There are many of his names that aren't really part of his majesty per se. For example, like I said last time, he's called the air. How's that majesty?
I said.
He's called the air, but the Quran tells you that he owns the world.
Translation of that name is not accurate.
The greatest of inheritors is another one.
I'm happy to discuss this next week. But
Okay, that's fine.
If
That's
I
fine.
inherit something, I'm just using the argument now.
Okay.
If I give you something and then you
Yes.
pass away,
Yes.
then I can take that thing back.
Yep. Okay, so when the Quran says that Allah is the owner of the heavens and the earth, that's a lie. Huh?
I don't understand your argument.
So when the Quran says that, so you're saying to me that it's possible for Allah to be the inheritor if he creates something or owns something, passes
I'm
on
giving this-
ownership,
I'm giving this-
and then gets it back.
I'm giving this as a hypothesis I made here. I'm
Okay,
happy to come back to this.
but it
next week.
doesn't
We
work.
don't have to answer everything here.
That's fine, that's fine. It doesn't work because the Quran tells you that Allah is the owner of the heavens and earth. The Quran says nowhere that man owns it. Therefore, Allah cannot be the inheritor if he is the owner. There is no transaction where Allah passes on ownership to human beings.
We have been given custodian of the earth.
What about the heavens?
But they're there. We're not talking about every situation. We have been given custodian to look after planet Earth.
So
when we
I can
pass,
say-
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala,
So I can say that I own the earth, not Allah, right?
you're really playing with the words here.
I'm not,
really
because
are.
to inherit, it implies you didn't own something. That's all.
So let's
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, Dul Qarnayn, everybody.
just
The main.
one more point you made last time.
Sure thing.
You said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we can't, like, he cannot be God because he's not referred to by a Hebrew tetragram, which is Yahweh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So he,
I showed you.
He's gonna go to the Bible.
I showed you a name, one of the 99 names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yep.
2 names.
Yep.
Al-Hayy Al-Qayyum.
Yep.
Those names are very beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Okay.
They're referred to only in, not only, but they're advised to be referred to when Muslims are going under great difficulty.
Okay.
So those 2 names, Al-Hayy Al-Qayyum. Al-Qayyum exactly has the same exact meaning as the word Yahweh.
Okay.
The self-existing one. You said
Yep. Doesn't count.
it doesn't count.
Yep.
Why?
There are many gods that have a name that implies that they are eternal or self-existing. They are not all God. Simple as that.
Because they're not referred to by the Hebrew tetragram, right?
Yes. So I cannot say to you
So an alien planet,
Yep.
right, where God is trying to contact those aliens,
Yep.
he's going to reveal his name in the Hebrew tetragram. That's what you're arguing.
He's going to reveal his name in
the
a
Hebrew
way
text.
that they can understand it.
In the Hebrew tetragram.
No, in a way that they can understand it.
But then that's the same thing.
No,
Al-Qayyum
it's-
is a way
No,
for Arabs
so-
to understand the name.
The difference here is that Allah has no personal name. Allah doesn't have a name. He has names and titles.
Okay, so we're
right?
using the personal name thing.
But
Hang on.
the God of the Bible has a personal name, and that is Yahweh.
So his
There you
personal
go.
name is Yahweh. So that means if it's his personal name,
Yep.
aliens on alien planets have to refer to his personal name if that's his name.
Well, I mean, if your personal name is Isaac, then sure.
So you're saying yes?
Yes.
Aliens on other planets across the galaxy,
For
across
example-
the universe, have to use a Hebrew tetragram.
Sure. If I met aliens and my name is David, they have to call me David. Simple
Okay,
as that.
say you met aliens. You're going to tell them that the God of the universe incarnated himself in flesh on just this planet?
Sure. Because we are his prized creation. Do you believe that Allah has aliens out there?
No, there's nothing in the Islamic tradition
Okay.
that categorically says aliens don't exist.
It doesn't say anything.
At the same time, there's
But
nothing
your-
that says the inverse.
Absolutely. But your version of like reality
Okay.
is that okay? So let me understand this.
Okay. This is great.
The God of the universe.
God and aliens. Let's go.
The God of the universe.
Yep.
The entire universe. with
Yes.
Trillions of planets, trillions of galaxies.
Sure.
He only manifested himself in this one planet,
Yes.
and he only has one Hebrew name as a personal name. That's your argument.
That is his personal name understood in Hebrew. Yes.
Okay, so that's your argument. So everything I said there is correct.
Sure. Because the same thing applies to Allah.
Okay. No.
It does.
No,
It does.
No, it doesn't. No,
It does.
No, it doesn't. Okay, so you're meeting some aliens.
Okay.
What are you going to do? Are you going to preach the gospel to them?
Sure. In a way they
you're gonna
understand.
Okay. So these aliens, they
Yep.
can't have their own incarnation of Christ.
Well, no.
Why not?
Because Christ came to us as human beings. So if these aliens were indeed there, they would have to acclimatize to the understanding of Christ that we have.
Okay.
Or, unless you believe that Allah, like, so for example, do you believe, so this is like a cool hypothetical, right? Now, do you believe that if there are aliens out there in the trillions of worlds that we have, are there multiple Qurans that Allah gave to them as well? in Arabic. or that's only here.
Where does the message be?
Huh?
Tell us what the message is.
I have no idea.
The message is
There's only one God.
The message,
Okay.
if that is a hypothetical we're going to entertain.
Sure.
The message is there's one God in
Okay.
the universe.
All right.
There's nothing like him. Your message to those same aliens
Yeah.
is God is a human person on the planet Earth, and he only manifested himself in that scenario. Every other planet is a waste of time, right? God is only incarnated on Earth, and we have to spread the message that we have a white Jesus.
Ooh, I like this. I like this. No, this is great. This is great. This is great. So then, if we play this game with the Quran, we're gonna have to tell the aliens that they have to come to Hajj once a year from 10 million light years away to go and circumnavigate a rock in the desert, so that they can then go back home and they have to say it in Arabic.
Wait, what about there is references to there is an equivalent of the Kaaba in heaven, which the angels circumnavigate.
Where's this?
Yes, it's true.
In the Quran or Hadith? The Kaaba is going to get busy. If the aliens are going to come here with the human, it's going to be crazy.
It's busy already.
It's going to get busier. They're going to have to expand it.
All the money they're making.
Like an intergalactic like space station. We're just like constant.
Just because your worldview is so anthropomorphized, right?
So is yours.
No, it's not.
It is. So okay, Sahih Muslim 100.
Sorry, just to point this right.
Go ahead.
Beit al-Mamur, right?
Sorry?
Beit al-Mamur.
Beit al-Namur.
Yeah.
What is this?
That is the equivalent of the Kaaba in the heavens.
Okay.
Which the angels circumnavigate.
Okay.
So they're not obligated to go around the Kaaba.
Okay.
Right? They're obligated to go around Beit al-Mamur.
But they're not on Earth.
Yeah. So aliens are not on Earth.
Okay. But also aliens are part of the created order, and angels only exist in the first heaven. So.
Yeah, but what you just made, making a mocking statement that.
So are you.
That creatures that are not on Earth
Yes.
can only go around the Kaaba.
Yes.
I just gave you evidential statement that there are creatures that are not on the Earth
Okay.
that go around their own Kaaba.
Right. So can you go to Beit al-Namur?
No.
So why can the aliens? Simple as that. Okay.
Well, no. You know that was a ridiculous statement.
How so?
Where were you going there?
You're implying.
Quickly try to move on there.
No,
I'm not going to let you.
that's fine. We can stay as long as you want. You're implying that heavenly creatures have a Kaaba. That's great. Aliens aren't heavenly creatures. They are within our reality.
Aliens are
So
heavenly
that's
creatures,
yes.
that's what they are.
No, aliens are not
Oh,
heavenly creatures.
But heavens, when it's referred to in Islam, it can refer to that heaven, and it can also refer to the heavens.
Then we are also heavenly creatures. Then in that case, aliens will be part of the created order. So if the Quran went over there, they'd be told to come over here and go on the Kaaba. Not the one in heaven. Simple as that.
And to be fair, like the idea that Christ became man, there's an analogy that Christ became a Jew. He became one nation instead of the other nations, and that's not an insult to the other nations. It kind of works.
But do you not see how anthropomorphized that is? But
Allah has two right hands.
The creator of the universe only came to one tribe on planet Earth.
That's fine.
In a certain context of history, right?
I don't see the problem with that.
Do you know how ridiculous that is going to sound to aliens, though? Like we're coming.
It might not. It might not.
Humanity might just be one tribe amongst the aliens. Just the way the Jews
How
are one tribe amongst.
are aliens going to think when they realize the planet where the God of the universe?
This is so hypothetical that it's going to be funny.
It's your belief system, right? So how are aliens going to think if the God of the universe only came to planet Earth at one period of time, right? And half the planet doesn't even believe in it.
That's the part of the whole the story of religion, isn't it? Like people don't.
Effectively, yeah.
No, but like,
This is a very weird analogy.
It's not a very weird analogy.
I think so.
It's just showing how anthropomorphized like Christianity is.
Okay, now you've said anthropomorphized about Allah 3 times. Do you want to read this? Here, read it out loud.
Where's that source from?
It's always Sahih Bukhari, man. I'm a Sahih only Christian. I only give you Sahih Hadith. So basically, what that says over there is that Allah has a talking womb. So if Allah has a talking womb, he has to be also anthropomorphic as well.
Okay. I'm going to use the same argument against you.
Go ahead.
In Isaiah,
Yep.
The Isaiah 42
Yep.
says, I have birth pangs. So are you
Sure.
saying the God of the Bible has birth pangs?
Nope, it's an analogy.
So this
But
is an analogy?
No, it's not. Because
It is an
literally,
analogy.
okay, so this is an analogy he says. In this hadith I can read to you, the womb talks to Allah. and Allah replies to it.
But why does that defeat the fact that it's an
That's
analogy?
not an analogy.
That is an analogy.
It's a conversation.
You just literally, like, why?
So
can it not be an analogy?
So
in the Bible, in Isaiah, it says God has birth pangs.
it doesn't say that. It says like a woman in birth pangs, I am yelling out. So again, that's not quite the same. Here, Allah is literally talking to a womb.
Yeah,
so,
but I gave my position. That's an analogy. There.
but read it out loud for people. It's not. Read it. Yeah, we going?
They're going with it.
I can't make it today.
Why
Sorry.
don't,
Yeah.
why don't you
Sorry.
read it? Why
Huh?
don't you read it?
You read it.
No, you read it. You're giving the argument, so go ahead.
Sahih al-Bukhari, 7502. Allah's messenger said, Allah created creation, and when he was finished, his creation, the Ram, aka a womb, got up.
The womb, which you're referring to, is in brackets, so that's not.
What does Ram mean? I don't know.
Yeah, but we will have
Sure.
to understand the word. If you're going to
Okay.
make that definitive statement that
All
it's a
right.
womb,
Yep.
you're going to have to evidentialize that.
Well, I'm going to trust the narrators of this hadith who've translated it over into English. The Ram, the womb, got up, and Allah said to it, stop, what do you want? It said, at this place I seek refuge with you from all those who sever me. Allah said, would you be pleased that I keep good relations with the one who will keep good relations with you? And I will sever the relations with the ones who will sever the relations with you. Is this an analogy or a conversation?
It's mysticism, mystical conversations.
Sahih al-Bukhari, 7502. Allah's got a womb. So when you're talking,
You're putting stuff in there. It's not saying.
where?
You said a womb again when I said
Read
that
it,
you don't know what the meaning
read
of
it,
Ram is.
read it, read it, read it on your own. Out loud, please.
You just read it out loud. Why don't you read it?
What you do it because you're saying that I'm lying. That's what it says over there. The womb, the Ram, R-H-M, womb. So if you're talking about a God who is anthropomorphized, aka a divine
look.
being
Are
that
you
is being
saying there's
ascribed
no-
human features,
Are you-
Allah does that more
Are
than
you
anybody
saying
else.
in the entirety of the Old Testament and the New Testament, there's no statements by the God of the Old Testament and New Testament where he's anthropomorphizing himself in the form of statements like that.
There are, but again, they are analogy. This is literal. There is nowhere that God literally calls himself a rock. It's an analogy. But Allah over here affirms things about himself. We know that Allah has body parts. He has the two right hands and the shin and the foot. These are all in hadiths.
But these are things that are also mentioned in the Old Testament and the New Testament that
No,
God of the Old Testament
but
and the New Testament has body parts.
There is
So
nowhere
why-
it says in the Old Testament that the God of the Old Testament has a body part. It can liken something like the strong
Yeah, but
arm
this
of the
can
Lord.
liken something as well.
But this isn't likening, it's a
This
conversation.
This is likening.
Read it out loud, read it out loud.
I'm not going to read it again.
Okay,
But
that's fine.
we've given
That's
our
fine.
positions, we've given
Thank you.
respective
Thank you.
positions, so
Thank
we're
you.
gonna move on. Okay.
Okay.
So what's your
Okay. Let's finally get to this. So, my friend here is a man of science. I love it. Okay.
No. We're
So,
going to talk about Jude and Majuj, which you're just.
exactly, a man of science. So he tells me that in Genesis there is a scientific error because trees are described as coming before aquatic life. But currently, as best we know, in terms of geological records, aquatic life comes before fish. So therefore, whoever wrote this, sorry, my apologies. Aquatic life comes before plants. Therefore, whoever wrote this did not have a good understanding of the modern geological record.
I just want to mention this
That's
is
fine.
in the first few pages.
That's fine. So, by this logic, the Bible is thrown into question. Okay, my rebuttal to this is that the Bible is written completely by men, inspired by God. So we have to take into account the cultural context and linguistic natures of those revelations at that time. So when Genesis, and Exodus and Leviticus were being written, these were being written in the context of a people who had just escaped captivity after 430 years.
All scripture.
So we have to understand
all
that.
scripture is God.
Is God breathed? Absolutely. God breathed does not mean that everybody who wrote scripture had a wahi where angel Gabriel spoke to them.
Is that the truth?
Absolutely. We believe that instead, within scripture, God can insert his message within a story being told, or a song being sung, or history being told. Now, when it comes to the...
We're going to get to this eventually.
No, let's get to it now, because you stole long enough.
You're making
Come back to it.
It's the same
When Allah, one second, now we have Allah physically, in some way, being the author of the Quran. Everything that's in it is written by Allah and from Allah. So therefore, this makes a much higher stake of burden on the Quran because this is a book written by a divine deity. So, with that being said, Surah 1865. There, they found a servant of ours to whom we had granted mercy from us and enlightened with knowledge of our own. So this is talking about the Dhul Qarnayn essentially. Then if we go down a bit further, so Dhul Qarnayn is this figure who apparently was able to build a wall that was so large that it could fit between two mountains and hold back a people who at the end of days are going to demolish the wall and then destroy all creation.
The Mongols.
So, no, this is great, this is great. So my friend here says that Dhul Qarnayn are the Mongols. Okay.
No, you don't even know what you're talking about here. Dhul Qarnayn is a figure in Islamic history who built a wall. Right?
Yes. So sorry. Yajuj and Majuj, the ones who are behind this wall, are apparently the Mongols, right? Now, the Mongols.
This is a proposition that you can't disprove.
I can very easily.
I want to make it very clear. This is a proposition that he cannot disprove.
I can very easily. So I'll show you. So the description given by the Quran does not tally with the Mongols.
You said a wall built between two mountains.
Absolutely.
Does the Great Wall of China fulfill those requirements?
Nope.
It does.
Nope.
It does.
It is not built between two mountains.
It's built between multiple elevation points. So
that's not a mountain. A mountain lives on a plate boundary. That's that simple. All mountains live on plate boundaries. Okay. So when we go over to Surah 18, we go to verse. Let's start with verse.
Here, what does it say? The Great Wall relics were built along mountain ridges.
But that's not in between two mountains.
Across mountain passes.
But so that's not in between two mountains. So that doesn't work. And
at the end,
and in the description in the Quran, the wall is built with iron that is laced with copper. The Great Wall of China, bricks. So it can't be it. Yeah. Simple the sun. Okay, all right.
I'm just gonna pull up some of these.
Yeah, so Surah 1890. Yes, this is the temple of the sun. He traveled. Okay, so let's start with Surah 1892. Then he, Dhul Qarnayn, traveled a third course until he reached the pass between two mountains. He found in front of them a people who could hardly understand his language. They pleaded, "O Dhul Qarnayn, surely Gog and Magog are spreading corruption through the land. So we will pay you tribute, provide that you build a wall between us and them." Yes. He responded, "What my Lord has provided for me is far better. But assist me with resources, and I, Dhul Qarnayn, will build a barrier for you between you and them. Bring me blocks of iron." Then, when he had filled up the gap between two mountains, he ordered, "Blow." When the iron became red hot, he said, "Bring me molten copper and pour it over." And so the enemies could neither scale nor tunnel under it.
He did bronze and copper fortifications on top of the wall.
There are none. Yep.
You said that when bronze and copper was used, this isn't like the Stone Age. This is where
there is no bronze and copper being used in the actual building. Because don't forget, the blocks of iron here have filled the gap. Right?
Fill the gap, so it doesn't necessarily mean the whole wall is iron.
But effectively,
this could have been. This could have been.
Okay.
Right, this could have been a fault in the wall which needed to be filled in, and it's reinforced by iron and bronze.
No, that's not what it says. Bring me blocks of iron. Then when he had filled up the gap between
gap doesn't mean the entire wall is built of those things.
Context. When he had filled up the gap between the two mountains, So whatever
So-
gap is being spoken
Wall
about
of-
is between the two mountains.
Yeah, the Great Wall of China spans many mountain ridges and stuff. This is between two mountains where there's a gap. There we go.
That is completely.
Well, next week, why don't
okay.
you disprove it?
Okay. And lastly, very lastly, my friend says that Yaj and Majuj are the Mongols.
Could potentially, I'm not making a definitive statement, I'm saying this is a proposition.
The Mongols had been a despotic, nomadic tribe for a number of hundred years within the desert plains of Mongolia, bordering Beijing. Now, they only became, well, they sacked Beijing.
But it's not bordering Beijing.
It was near somewhat, near Beijing, where they can reach it potentially, right? Now, they only became a problem to the Chinese in the 1200s.
Yeah.
So if this Quran is written and it's talking about an event that is actually meant to happen in the future from where Muhammad is, then there's no way the Mongols can be Yaj and Majuj. So, as a man of science, since we have maps that show us the entire surface of the planet, why can we not find, hear, see, or smell Yaj and Majuj?
Do you know when the first walls were built that preceded to the Great Wall of China? They were built in the 7th century BC.
Yeah,
And they were built specifically to keep nomadic groups out.
but not the Mongols.
Yeah, but it's the same people that descended into the Mongols. And those walls have always been there
Okay,
in some way, shape,
all right,
or form.
okay. Now, the nail in the coffin will be that, so if it's
So
all...
none of these, just want to clarify, none of these were nails in the coffin. This is going to be the nail.
No. Well, okay, sure. These were all damning, but yes, this is the nail in the coffin. Now, it says that
These were all answered for.
they weren't, unfortunately. So it says, he declared, this is a mercy from my Lord, but when the promise of my Lord comes to pass, he will level it to the ground, and my Lord's promise is ever true. On that day, the day of the promise, we will let them surge like waves over one another. Later, the trumpet will blow, and we will gather all people together. On that day, we will display hell clearly for the disbelievers. So, apparently, one day, the Great Wall of China is going to fall down. And supposedly, the Mongolians are going to surge from the wall and lay waste to everything.
Which happened in
Now,
history. Which happened in history after the Quran was revealed.
Now, that means that on that day,
It doesn't-
AKA
no, you're making that link.
on that day, right, when the Lord's promise will be revealed, that is the day of judgment.
Where does it happen?
That is the tafsir for this.
Later, the trumpet will be blown. So
Yep.
the trumpet can be blown at a later point from this point.
Oh, so you're saying that Yaj and Majuj have already come?
Yeah, that's the point I'm making.
Ah, okay. Now, when you go into the Hadiths,
Yeah.
it tells you that they will drink the Euphrates River. Did they do that when they came out? They didn't.
I'll have to look into that.
So,
Okay, no.
the Great Wall is not made of iron, it's not made of copper, it's not between two mountains, and the people behind it are not a bunch of zombies who are gonna come and destroy the earth when the trumpet blows or when the day of promise comes.
1,000 to 1.
Yes. Oh yeah, that's another thing. So the Hadiths say that the people
Sorry, you're making a
of...
lot of points there. Can I keep up?
Go ahead.
Okay, so the Mongols, when they invaded and sacked Baghdad and all of this, they threw books into the river Tigris, right?
They didn't drink it,
The river Tigris flows into the Euphrates.
but they didn't drink
So
it.
there is a link between the Euphrates and the Mongols.
Okay, but they didn't lay waste to the entire earth because the Hadiths say that actually this will happen when Easter comes back, and Easter will hide from them.
But wait, let's stick to this.
Okay.
Okay, in Islamic tradition,
Yep.
right? One of the scholars, I can't
Yep.
remember the name off by heart because you brought this topic up. Right?
Sure.
He mentions that the reason it cannot be the Mongols is because there was no wall preventing the Mongols from invading. That claim was made at a time when we didn't know about the Great Wall of China. So even in Islamic tradition, right, there was an idea of Yajuj and Majuj being the Mongols. But one reason it was used,
And it was
that
wrong.
it wasn't the Mongols, was because there was no wall that was preventing them. So now when we have modern understanding, we know that there is a wall that was built to prevent the Mongols from invading.
It wasn't built by Zulkarnain. It was built by a.
It wasn't. It's nowhere. He's fortifying the wall. He's not building the wall from scratch.
He is because it implies that they had nothing to protect them from these people beforehand.
According to the Quran.
According to the Quran, the people.
I'm happy to be corrected.
That's fine. The people say. So they pleaded, "Oh, Zulkarnain or whatever. Surely Gog and Magog are spreading corruption to the land. So we pay you tribute, provided that you build a wall between us and them."
And then it's
meaning that
talking
one
about
didn't exist
gap
before.
in the wall as well. I'll need to look into
It's
this
not talking about a gap in the
further.
wall.
Okay. You just talked about the gap in the wall.
No. The gap between two mountains.
Yeah, the gap between
No,
two
wall.
mountains, when the wall can expand past those two mountains.
So okay, so this verse implies that there was no barrier at this time. If there was,
it could
they
also-
wouldn't ask me to build it for them.
It could also imply that
Yep.
there was a barrier that had a gap. I'm happy to be corrected on this.
Sorry,
There was
that's
a
not what
gap.
it says.
Yeah, it does.
That's not what it says.
Then, when he filled up the gap between the two mountains, so there
Implying-
could have been a wall expanding past that.
There was
and
no
then-
wall. Because if there was, they wouldn't ask them to build them one.
But I'm saying that wall that exists in that region of China, it's been constantly built and rebuilt, built and rebuilt.
Is there any section of the wall of China that's made of iron and bronze?
But there could have been, that is the wall that exists today, which was rebuilt, I believe, in the 13th century. But prior to that, we don't know what that wall looked like. I'm happy to be corrected on this, but we can look into this further and we can talk about it next week.
So they replaced iron and bronze with bricks.
No, that iron and bronze is referring to a specific section of the wall, to my understanding.
Okay,
I'm happy to be
and
corrected on this,
we
and
know,
look into this section.
and we know that the wall does not extend between any mountains, just mountain
It does.
ranges.
What is your definition of a mountain?
A mountain-
Do ancient history, like do people from the ancient past have our definition of what a mountain is?
That's a good question, but I think, so from my understanding, everything from the ancient world that's considered a mountain then is a mountain today. We haven't demoted any mountains yet.
But as you said, it's a good question. We don't understand what people in the ancient past
But
considered a mountain.
today, a mountain is a physical feature that forms when two plate boundaries either diverge into each other or move past one another.
Yeah, that's the ancient understanding.
Probably very high points. So, and I think the ancient understanding also, they had hills, they had mounds and mountains. So mountains were exceptional amongst the hills and
Let's
mountains.
just try and clarify this argument.
Sure.
I'm going to search if
Okay.
there is a mountain in the Great Wall of China.
Yep.
According to the modern understanding. We'll
Okay.
look that up and then we can.
And also, effectively, what I have shown here is that when you talk about the Quran, because the burden of proof of the Quran is that it is a book authored by God himself, God should get these details right. In the Bible, it is completely man-authored. So if there are any mistakes, inaccuracies, X, Y, and Z, man did it, which is fine.
What we have suggested is the fact that this could potentially be referring to the Great Wall of China and potentially be
Not
a
we,
prophecy,
you,
potentially
not me.
be a prophecy foreseeing the Mongol invasions. That's what we're
Okay, well, that's what you say. I say that's not the case.
You're making very definitive statements, right?
Yes. Because your hadith tell you that Easter will be here when the Great Wall falls.
Okay. Jundu Mountains is a mountain range north of Beijing in China. Jundu Mountains represent the west part of the Yan Mountains. The Great Wall of China passes through the Jundu Mountains.
It is not built between them. Again, these are...
Okay, guys. Being built through mountain range, being built through two mountains doesn't mean it's built between them, according to David.
No. So this is saying that the Great Wall of China extends to the mountain range. Fine, that's fine. However, I want to know what these two mountains
I
are.
understand.
Yep.
Being built between two mountains doesn't mean
Means that the gap between two mountains has now been taken up by this wall made of copper and iron.
No.
Where is that?
These are your own definitions. These are your own definitions.
No, that's the truth what the Quran tells me.
So you're saying in the whole Great Wall of China,
Yep.
there's no point
Where
where the
it's
wall is built between two mountains
and
in a gap.
contains. Yes.
Okay, that's a very definitive statement.
That's what I'm saying.
We can fact
Let's
check
go.
this later.
Let's go. And contains and is built by iron blocks
no.
and copper. Both.
It could have been built by iron and bronze in prehistory. not prehistory, sorry. That gap could have been filled by iron and bronze in one of the walls that preceded this Great Wall of China that exists today.
And so where's the iron and bronze today?
Yeah, that's it.
Where is it?
So I'm saying this is not proving anything.
It is. So it's proving that when God writes a book, supposedly, and the details in the book are false, then people won't accept that they're false. Instead, they want to try their best.
If you want to go there,
Yep.
the Bible,
Yep.
I believe it's Matthew.
Where's my men?
Correct me if I'm
Sure,
wrong.
sure.
States
States?
that when Jesus was resurrected,
Yep.
all the saints were resurrected with him.
Yep.
They were walking the streets
Yep.
of Jerusalem.
Yep.
So you were referring to zombies before.
Yep.
I'm referring to zombies now.
Okay.
According to your Bible.
Very simply, the answer is that Matthew was not an eyewitness of the crucifixion.
So if he's not an
he
eyewitness-
interviewed people afterwards. So if somebody had a physical or spiritual experience that meant something to them and they related to Matthew, he wrote it down. In the same way that in Tafsir Ibn Kathir, I think Ibn Kathir, there's a mention of this nun, which is meant to be a whale of which the world sits on. He mentions it within his tafsir, but he doesn't believe potentially that it exists.
Ibn Kathir, the Quran. Is Ibn Kathir the Quran? Well,
His
I'm referring to your
understanding
Bible.
of the
I'm referring-
Quran.
Ibn Kathir can be wrong in that understanding.
Okay, fine.
You can't be wrong in the fact there had to be
I
saints
said
that
it.
were walking on the streets of Jerusalem.
Somebody saw it and they told Matthew that, and he wrote it down. That's all.
So that person, you're saying, how did the early church understand this?
I actually have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm happy for you to look into that,
Okay.
and then we can come back to this point.
Sure,
and
but
see
that's
if the
all.
early church understood. I don't know. I'm not too familiar myself.
Sure.
The early church, if they understood this literally, right? You're going against the tradition of the early church, right?
I have no idea what they thought. But if there's no
Also,
evidence for it, then we
You're saying
can't
the
drive it
person
home.
that's reporting this,
Yep.
it was a spiritual experience for them,
So potentially, because Matthew wasn't there himself, so he didn't see it.
potentially. Okay.
Yep.
So, if he's making such a definitive statement that there were
Yep.
saints walking across the streets of Jerusalem,
Yep.
right? If that didn't happen historically, he's lying.
No, because it's not his information. So he's not lying.
Whose information is it?
It's the original person who he interviewed to get the story
Person
from.
he interviewed. So,
Yeah. So
who is this person he interviewed?
I have no idea. It wasn't stated.
Okay, so we're taking this person who he interviewed,
Who was at the crucifixion? Yes.
who was at the crucifixion. And this is the only person that's seen saints walking across the streets of Jerusalem.
I suppose so. I think the only person who he interviewed.
But the
who
way you
saw
said it, let me just try and find the passage.
Sure,
Are you
go
familiar
ahead.
with the exact passage?
Oh boy, no. Matthew 20. I don't know.
You can try and find it. I can try and get the saints.
Yeah, the saints. Because an interesting one as well is I have something where if you miss morning prayer, the Iblis pees in your ear, and I want to know how that works.
Matthew 27.
Is it 22?
52 to 53. Matthew 27 to 52.
Oh my God, I'm so late. Okay. Matthew 22.
27.
Oh, 27.
27, 52 to 53.
Sure thing. You there?
Yeah.
Oh, you have a Bible. That's cool.
Okay, so,
I didn't realize that. Keep reading it.
okay. So it says here, at that moment, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. The
Yep.
earth shook, the rock split.
Yep.
Is there any historical record on that? It's a side point, sorry.
There is.
Okay, so-
I'm not aware of it, but if there is, yep.
and the
The tombs were open.
And the tombs broke open.
Okay,
The
and
bodies
these are the saints.
of many
Yep.
holy people
Yep, who had fallen
who had
asleep,
died
were raised.
Yep. back to life.
Yep.
So
And
this
coming-
is a spiritual experience, or is it a clear categorical statement that this happened in reality?
For this one, me personally, I don't
No,
want.
we're not talking about. I'm asking you for your tradition. Right?
I don't
care about
know
your
what the
personal
tradition
view.
is. I'm not sure what it is there.
I know,
But
I'm-
there's an
I don't
understanding.
care about your personal view. I want to know.
There's an understanding that Matthew was not there at the crucifixion. So effectively, all the details there
Okay.
of my witnesses.
So what
that's
you're
fine.
saying, what you're saying is Matthew,
Yes.
Book of Matthew.
Yep.
This is not the Matthew who was there at crucifixion.
There wasn't one
no,
there.
but I'm saying that this isn't a Matthew who was there at crucifixion, right?
He wasn't there.
Yeah, so I'm saying this is not somebody who was at the crucifixion.
Yes.
So this is not somebody who was at the crucifixion asking somebody who was at the crucifixion what happened, and this person who was at the crucifixion said he saw bodies rising.
Sure.
right?
Yep.
Walking through
Yep.
Jerusalem.
And then he recorded it, yes.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say that zombie statement you made before,
Yes.
right? Is that not the same thing happening?
Ooh, well, so the difference here is that the zombies in your theology are
There's no
still
zombies.
here
There's
today.
no zombies.
Because
Where does it say that? Where does it say that?
No, think about it this way. I call them zombies for this reason. They are behind the wall and they are clawing away at the wall.
There is
And
no saying-
until one of them says, like there's only one God and his name is Allah, the wall will not fall. And when the wall falls, they will go through the entire world and then they will drain the Euphrates by drinking it and cause terror
You're making a lot of
across the
statements.
whole world.
You're making a lot of statements here.
So
There's
what
no
are they eating?
From my understanding, there's no Sayyidi
Yep.
to the extent where there's no risk of it being died, where it says these beings are still existing to this day.
They are because they're recorded that they will be here when Easter is here. Isa and his followers will hide in the caves and then Allah will cause a growth to form on their necks and kill them all.
I have to look into that.
I can show you a good narration by
I know the narration you're talking about.
Okay.
I know the narration you're talking about. From my independent research,
Yep.
which I've done, there is no Sahih Hadith which categorically says that these beings, Yajuj and Majuj, are alive to this day. Potentially, okay, there is the idea that their descendants exist to this day, but there's no, from my understanding, there's nothing saying that these beings are alive to this day in the same manner that they're still behind the wall, trapped.
So they would be because the promise of Allah has not come through yet, which is what he said in Surah 1894.
Those can be two separate statements.
So what is the promise?
The promise is that the trumpet will be blown.
Has it been blown yet? So they're still behind the wall.
At that time, when the Quran was revealed,
Yep.
there was no trumpet that had been blown, and there was no Mongol invasion.
Okay. I think these two things are talking about the same events, but that's fine. We can end it here and pick up next week. Keep reading that. I like it.
Well, I just want to go back. So
Go ahead.
Just on the human soul. I don't want to take up too much.
Yeah, so human soul. Yep.
So let me just understand. this.
Sure.
What happens to the human soul now?
The human soul is eternally now part of the human nature, which is now the second nature of the sun. So nothing happens to it. It's now everlasting.
Now it's everlasting.
Yep.
Okay.
But certainly, yes, it was created with the human nature. Absolutely. All right. Cool.
I'm still going to be around for a bit if you want to talk about other topics.
Unfortunately, I have to go somewhere, and I'm late. But next week, sure. All right.
All right, thank you. But I'll get back to you on those points, and yeah.
Please do. Okay. Alrighty, guys, I do gotta run. So I can't hang out today. I'm sorry, but next week for sure. Okay, so people, I talked to my friend there. We clarified the point about Jesus Christ having the human soul. So this all got brought up last week. And yes, it turns out, yes, we can say that Christ has a human soul in that it is part of his human nature. And it is now forever joined with him in that he has two natures, a divine nature and a human nature, and that human nature houses a soul as well. So we can say in that regard that Christ does have a human soul and will continue to have a human soul for all eternity. But one interesting thing that we wanted to bring up was that in the Bible, when you have these numerical errors or scientific errors, it is to be understood that these books are not science books, and inclusively, they are not authored by God. They're authored by men. So we can factor in all of the historical intricacies and the historical nuances into why they might have thought a certain thing was in a certain way. However, we can also then admit that potentially God is the one who was, despite what they were writing, weaving in a narrative in there for us to look at that points to Christ. Whereas for the Quran, everything that is in there has to be accurate because God himself is writing this. So unless God has a writing style that appeals to only the 7th century, then there are problems there, which is why when we look at Abdul Qarnayn in Surah 18, for my friend who's a man of science, he cannot say wholeheartedly that that story is true. Because if it is, we would have seen the wall and the people. And it's not the Mongols, and it's not the Great Wall of China, but next week we'll carry this on. All right, that's everyone. God bless. And I gotta run again, so I'll see you guys later. Go.